we're going to be talking about a partnership um, where we collaborated with the local bus authority and ESL to put together an integrated education and training program. So if that sounds good, you should stay. If it doesn't, no one will look. You can just go. All right. Well, we're glad to have you. Well, good morning and welcome. It's almost afternoon. Yeah, it's still morning. Okay, good morning and welcome. And we just lost your video, Angelica. I bet you're going to come back on. Um, we're presenting about a innovative collaborative program called Bilingual Bridges. And this is one of our classes. I'm one of our presenters. This is me, Alex. And well, I'm going to have people introduce themselves. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm Alex Smith. I'm an ESL instructor with Granite School District.
I'm Stephanie Patton. I work for the Utah State Board of Education, so I'm the State Adult Ed Director for Utah.
Go Utah. Okay. Angelica.
And I'm Angelica Swaste, and I'm a corporate trainer for Utah Transit Authority.
Okay, wonderful. So we're excited to be talking with you today. In a few minutes, I'm going to close that door so it's not quite as distracting. All right, so our purpose, and we had a funding problem. That's why Angelica isn't with us today, but she's an integral part of the program. So that's why she's on the screen. All right. So we're here because we want to share how Bilingual Bridges created career opportunities for individuals and also filled workforce gaps. And helped people see a big change in their ability to provide for their families and also contribute to the community. But so that this is interesting to you, we would love to hear why you chose this session, if you chose it and didn't accidentally come in here. So I'd love to, you're not sitting very close, so talking to a partner won't exactly work, but I'd love, take a minute and think, and I'd love to know, why did you come today to this session, this particular one? Okay, and I'm gonna share the mic so that Angelica can hear.
Hi, I'm Carla Andor from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, with our high school completion ESL program. And we just know that we have students that are really interested in moving into transportation careers. So I think this would be a great way for them to get into that career or start into that career if they want to move up the ladder. And we also just have really wonderful public transit teams in our area that really works super closely with us to help our students get there. And I'm like, boy, this would just be such a great win-win for both of us, I think.
Thank you, and tell me your name one more time. Carla. Okay, great.
Hi, Denise McCauley. I'm from California, the Kern Adult Education Consortium. And what I'm really interested in is how this partnership was formed, like how you came about knowing this was an avenue you could actually see potential to pursue.
Okay, Stephanie's going to be talking about that very soon. Okay, thank you. Who else?
Hi, my name is Rosario. I am come from Washington State. I work for the high school equivalency program, also for a new program called MASA, Migrant Academic Services Academy. So our focus is to help out school youth. So I heard from Kathleen about your program, and it sounds amazing. And I came because I want to get more ideas on how to help our youth.
Thank you. Who else?
I am Crystal Rodriguez, and I am from Clovis Adult Ed. I am the counselor in California, pretty close to you. I'm interested in this because our district is constantly looking for instructional aides, transportation, janitorial services, and just wondering how we could bridge that with our own district so that we have these programs and they get hired with our school.
Let's hear from one or two more. I've never been told that before, Tatiana. Thank you. No, I am enjoying the moment. That's very funny. Wonderful. One more.
Awesome programs are coming out of Utah, middle of nowhere.
Ah, yeah, great question. Oh, you're from Entrada. Got it. Yeah. No, we got it. Okay. Well, great. We aim for this to be informative. If you have questions along the way, please ask them. So you have me, you have Angelica, you have Stephanie, and you also have Kathleen, who's my chief supporter and boss at Granite Peaks, and she did a lot of work to make this happen as well. So between the four of us, we should have an answer to every question that you have. Okay. Well, questions about this that you have. Other questions we might not have. All right. So here's what we're going to do today. First, Stephanie's going to talk to you about the how and the why. Then Angelica and I are going to talk to you about the nuts and bolts of the program, some of the impacts we've seen, how we approached learning and teaching, talk about some of the lessons we learned, and then talk about looking forward. And so what we hope that this will inform you, we hope it'll be a little fun to be here, and we hope that it will inspire you with some ideas of something that a slightly different version of what you're doing now, or something you could do to help build a bridge for bilingual community members, or trilingual or quadrilingual for multilingual community members to contribute and to grow in their careers. So I'm going to hand it off to you, Stephanie. One more. Sorry. Okay, so here's what I'd like you to do. I want this to be as real as possible. So what I'd like you to do this time, find someone near you, and I'd like you to talk about, in your particular community, what are some opportunities for employment that are just out of reach for some of your adult ESL students, but that with the right program they could be successful in. Okay, so for our students, many of them were currently working as DoorDash, Amazon Flex, factory that does bacon, cleaning, or stocking shelves at Walmart. So something that would give you a step up above that. Okay, who are the employers? And then the other is, what are the organizations in your community that could team up to do this? So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Do you understand the assignment? That's not a good question. What questions do you have about the assignment? Okay, yeah, so just talk with someone near you about what you think is a good employment opportunity and who you could pair up with to deliver that. All right, take one more minute to wrap up your conversations. One more minute, please.
15 seconds. All right. Come on back. Okay, so as we move through the presentation, if you just keep those in mind, what opportunities and partners are maybe available, and start to like think of how you could take what we're presenting and personalize it in your own area and use it for moving the work forward in your local community. So let me just start out by giving you like some context and the need for the program at the Utah Transit Authority. So just after COVID, COVID shook everything up, and that had an impact on the Utah Transit Authority as well. And so they actually called me and said, hey, we're having, well, Utah for several years has had a very low unemployment rate. So there's just nobody to hire. If you need to hire somebody, there's nobody there. And so they had a lack of qualified bus operators, and they were getting several applicants who had low English proficiency, and they wanted to hire them, but the nature of the job required that you have, in crisis situations, the ability to communicate very clearly. As you can imagine, if something happens with a bus full of passengers, the bus driver's got to be able to communicate clearly where they're at, where they need to be, and without any, questions or confusion. And so they were concerned about hiring these applicants who had low English proficiency. They also were at a position where, they had reduced the bus routes during COVID, and now things were starting to open back up, and they were trying to expand back to where they were, but they just had a lack of qualified bus operators. So this is kind of where they were at. And the individual who actually reached out to me was over the paratransit part division of the Utah Transit Authority, and she just was, like, hey, we have these issues, can you help? And so I said, yes, I can help. This would be a great partnership, right? It's a win for them, it's a win for us. Let's see how we can work together. And the vision really was to support economic growth, empower immigrant workers, and enhance transit services. And working with our own students to open up their opportunities for growth. The thing about UTA too that I did not know before we started this process was that, like, when I first walked in to the first meeting and we did introductions, and everyone at the table was like, yeah, I've been here for 20 years. I've been here at 25. I've been here 15. Like, and I was really impressed, and they would tell their stories, right? Like, I started out as a bus operator and now I'm at leadership. And so for me, from the outside looking in, I thought this is such a great career opportunity for our students. It's not like just go work for a day or two or a month or a year. Like, this is setting them up for long-term success and economic growth, stability, which is sometimes really difficult to find for our ESL students when we're looking at jobs. That was really a draw for me, and saying, like, let's make this happen. So like I said, they had already identified that they had a need for more operators. They had come and approached and said, we need some training. Can you help us with this training? And so we spent, I think, almost a year in meetings talking together before Granite ever, before the local adult education program had any idea that this was happening. I would meet with the key players on Utah Transit Authority to set a vision and goals for the program, and talking about integrated education and training and how that works, ideally with two different teachers, one from the English side, one from the bus operator training side, working together to help our students get the English proficiency that they need to be successful bus operators. So we spent a lot of time talking about that and preparing them to go take this up the ladder in their organization so that they could sell the idea and make it work. Eventually it did go in front of UTA leadership. They were very, very supportive, and we worked to create a memorandum of understanding. That's what MOU stands for, if you don't know. Memorandum of understanding to solidify the partnership and make sure that everyone was understanding what the expectations from each partner were. Really formalize that. That took a minute as well. By that time, the local school district had been brought in. Granite adult education was part of that MOU. And anytime you're talking about anything with any sort of legal ramifications, right, everyone's lawyers have to get involved, and it took a minute. So we're talking about 3 different entities. Utah State Board of Education was providing the funding. Granite School District was taking that funding and providing teachers. And UTA was also providing a teacher and space and, you know, the majority of the partnership there. So yes, please. Yeah. The question, Angelica, was how did we pay for the vocational teacher, which is Angelica, by the way. So UTA came and they were willing to pay that portion. So it was, and Angelica will tell you more about her and her experience in just a second, but Angelica was already at the UTA, and she was a trainer already. So great question. Okay, so I think that's it.
Wonderful. So now we're going to talk about some of the nuts and bolts of the program, what it really was, what it really is. And what I want to tell you first is, just as a caveat, UTA was in a high funding, Utah Transit Authority was in a high funding situation because they had lots of unfilled roles. So this is going to sound like the Cadillac version of a program. We are confident, though, that you could also make the Honda Civic version, or the Hyundai Elantra, or the scooter. We think there's lots of different versions you could do. Oh, this is me. So what I brought to this was lots of experience with structured literacy, lots of different teaching experience, done a lot of curriculum development, and a passion and purpose. My whole career I've been working with in immigrant communities. And so, and then measurement. I always like to measure impact of whether students are learning, whether they're growing, to hold us as instructors accountable for that.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. My name is Angelica Swaste, and I'm a corporate trainer for leadership development at UTA. But my journey started as a bus operator. That role was my entry point, helping me truly understand the company from the ground up. Over time, I worked in different departments, gaining hands-on experience that deepened my understanding of UTA's mission and goals. And with UTA, I mean Utah Transit Authority. So one of the biggest lessons I learned was that formal training can only take you so far. Some of the most important skills, like navigating real challenges, understanding passengers, handling unexpected situations, were things that I had to learn on the job. So that experience really shaped this program. We knew that to truly set people up for success, we needed instructors with firsthand experience, a people-first focus, and a passion for helping individuals and the company thrive. Beyond my work experience, my personal background was a huge motivator. Coming from an immigrant family, I saw firsthand how the language barrier affected my father. I witnessed how people took advantage of him simply because he didn't understand the system. And that really fueled my drive to create a program that provides real support and practical tools so that others wouldn't have to face the same struggles. And this journey wasn't just about me, it was also about Alex and I. We had to work together to support each other. And honestly, I didn't realize how hard it would be to teach English because I could speak it. But I had to learn how to teach English as an ESL instructor, and Alex learned how to teach bus operations as a UTA corporate trainer. And that collaboration ensured that we could support not just our participants, but also each other, making this program stronger and more effective. And today I stand here not just as someone who worked my way up at UTA, but as someone who believes in the power of opportunity. When we invest in people and when we equip them with the right tools, the guidance, and the belief in their potential, we're not just changing their careers, we're changing their lives. And that's exactly what this program is all about.
And I just echo what Angelica said. I remember I was hired to do this role, and I was introduced to Angelica, and I was thinking, why do we need another teacher? I got this. And it turned out I didn't. Yeah. So I think, and I think our partnership together, of working together on our curriculum, on our teaching, on supporting the students was really key. And I don't think there's any way we would have been successful without Angelica's role and her.
Or without yours.
Or sure. But there, what I'm saying, Angelica, is there's a lot of programs, I think, with people training for potential jobs, but having someone who's done the job and who can inspire and can help people understand is a key element that's often missing. I'll hand it back to you, Angelica.
Thank you.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Yep. We got you.
So what is the Bilingual Bridges program? It's more than an ESL class. It's an integrated education and training program designed to prepare future bus operators by combining language learning with hands-on transit training. Participants don't just learn English, they gain the skills they need to excel as bus operators at UTA. Thank you. Transitioning from learning English to becoming a UTA bus operator is not a small task. Trust me, I would know. That's why this program was designed to provide structure, support, and real-world training to set participants up for success. So just to give you an idea of our schedule, it was Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 3:15 p.m., 29 hours a week, 100% attendance required, $15.98 an hour, and it was 8 to 12 weeks. The requirements were that you had to be 21 years or older, you had to have a valid driver's license, D in English, and no more than 2 moving violations in the last 3 years, no felonies or DUIs in the past 10 years, and an English proficiency level of 4 or higher and a work authorization. So our program was designed around 4 key areas: ESL for transit. Instead of general English lessons, we wanted to focus on transit-specific vocabulary and phrases, ensuring trainees learn the language they'll use every day. We also had CDL training. We prepared for the commercial driver's license, and it is a very tough exam. Even for native English speakers, we have people who struggle to pass this test every day. And I remember how hard it was for me. So we broke it up and we broke it down step by step using pictures, role-playing, real bus demonstrations, and videos to make sure trainees fully understood the material. Customer service and safety. We didn't just go over the basics. Trainees practiced real conversations. We role-played common scenarios in the classroom, in the bus. We interacted with UTA employees to experience different accents and communication styles. And then workplace communications. Beyond transit procedures, we focused on effective communication. Trainees learned how to navigate UT's reporting processes, communicate with supervisors, and problem solve so that they were ahead of the curve once they started bus training. And this program wouldn't have been possible without the collaboration across multiple departments. We had administration help with recruiting, onboarding, HR and payroll support. We had bus operations help with training, ongoing program support, and future employee development. We had the executive team provide critical program support. We also had the Utah State Board of Education offer funding, program partnership, and an official MOU. And finally, we had Granite Peak sourcing Alex Smith as the experienced ESL instructor to ensure quality language instruction. So as you can see, it truly takes a village to create a program like this, and teamwork was the key to its success.
All right, we're going to talk briefly about some of the impacts of this program now. You can, with the way you started this, you can ask whatever you want, Tatiana. Tell us what your questions are, and I'll get you to the right person. Can this one be on the record?
Hope so. So just clarification, the students were paid $15.98 for just participation in the program. And that money was provided by UTA or the state board?
Yeah, so the Utah Transit Authority, from salaries that they weren't paying because they had unfilled roles, decided to pay that. The 29 hours is the max you can be without receiving full benefits yet. So that's why it's 29 hours. Keep going.
Yes, and one more question, what is CDL?
Yeah, so the CDL is the commercial driver's license. It's what's required to drive a bus or a semi. And then there's different endorsements. So there's the generic CDL. For the vehicles our operators would be driving, they also needed air brakes, and you get another assessment for to carry passengers. What other questions do people have?
And just really quick to clarify, we did hire the participants as part-time employees at UTA.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I was just going to say they actually went through an interview process, but
Yeah, so and Angelica will address this. There were multiple steps along the journey, and that's an important thing to figure out. So there was an interview process that even before the interviews, we were helping potential students to prepare for the interviews. Then they had an interview, and then they were offered a part-time job with UTA to be a part of this program. Then there were additional processes to become a full-time trainee, and then to become a full-time employee. Okay.
The agreement, it's okay.
Well, I just want Angelica to be able to hear.
Part of the agreement was for them to actually stay with you guys once you provided the training and they got certified, or did they have that privilege to go somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. Linda would always say she didn't want, what are they called, golden handcuffs? So in the transit world, there are a number of programs where you essentially sign a contract. That was not a requirement. So people remained free agents throughout.
I would like to know if all this great information we are getting today can be sent it to us somehow.
Yeah, if you open up, and I can show you afterwards, on your app, there's a place where you can download 2 different handouts. You have the slides and also a handout and our contact information. And we'd be happy to schedule time to talk to you about it as well.
So you were saying that you were preparing these individuals for interviews and that. So were you doing a lot of like the L Civics and different co-ops and stuff to try and build their skills as far as the learning English ready for all the interviews, or how were you doing that as the institution?
So preparing people for interviewing? I think this is an interesting question. And tell me your name again? Denise. So for our first, just being fully transparent with you, for our first cohort, the typical way that people enter into, so with us, they were ESL trainees. Then they enter into a training program where they're passing their CDL, they're learning to become an operator at UTA. The typical way to enter that is through an interview. And so we assumed that that'd be the right way to continue to do it. So in the class, we practiced some interviewing skills. We learned a lot of vocabulary and a lot of skills around being a bus operator. And then we send our first group in for interviews for them to go to the next level. And it turns out one of the things that's really hard, oh, and I'll get to where you can see me, Angelica, if that matters. It doesn't. It turns out that sometimes organizations conflate 2 things at once, English skills and skills for the job. And so the interview process was not well suited to do either. And so we actually had a lot of discussions around how that interview went, because the people who interviewed thought they were too well prepared, and they weren't sure after that interview if they had the right kind of skills. So following that experience, we instead developed, which we'll show you later, a performance-based rubric that we prepared students for, but then supervisors, trainers, and people from other organizations would come and evaluate. So, but the main problem was an interview, when you put high stakes on the interviewer to decide, do they have the English skills to be successful for that? A high stress interview is not a great way to assess that. So that didn't work for us. We had a lot more success when on a second cohort, we switched to a rubric, which I'm going to show you. So then the people who'd be training our graduates and supervising our graduates all signed off on our graduates in a way that they couldn't make a good decision based on the typical interview. Is that okay? And I'll be quicker on the other parts.
Alex,
Angelica, go ahead.
I think it's also important to talk about both interviews. So there was an interview to get into the ESL program, and then there was an interview to get into bus operations training.
Yeah,
And
so I was talking about bus operations training. Tell them about the other, Angelica.
Yeah, so the first interview that they have to that they don't have to pass, but they have to take an interview in order to enter the ESL program. And as long as they met all of the requirements for the ESL program, and they had the level for CASA's proficiency or higher, then they were accepted into the ESL program, regardless of the interview and the turnout of the interview. One thing that we did learn was that a lot of people were struggling with the interview process because it had been the first time that they've taken an interview, submitted a resume and an application. And so we wanted to make sure that we didn't judge them based off the interview because that didn't really determine their skill set, that we gave them an equal opportunity and that as long as they met the requirements, they were able to enter the program so that they had a fair chance to learn and then take the next interview or the performance task that we'll learn more about.
Yeah, thank you, Angelica. And so, and at that stage, we also separated out assessment for English versus some of the qualities we wanted for an operator, conscientiousness, service orientation, things like that. Go ahead.
So from the education standpoint, were you not looking at like WIOA funds or trying to get additional funding through some of the things that you were implementing?
Thank you.
I'm Kathleen. I'm the coordinator for this program. And so the way that we were looking at it was through IELCE and IET funding. And because we were working directly with the State Department on this, our goal was to have a continual sustainable program through the IELCE grant funding. And so we applied for the grants when the open grant season entered, and that was how we were able to fund our amazing teacher here. Stephanie?
Like, did you say, could you pay the students to be in the program through WIOA? No, I don't believe so. You do? Oh, yeah, okay, Title I funds, yeah, not Title II. Yeah, that's a good point, but Title I is workforce, yeah. So you could use other funds, but not adult ed, yeah. So co-ops are California. So every state has, we don't have co-ops in Utah, so we did not use co-ops. But you certainly could have in California.
And the paying the students was great for them. It allowed them to continue to bridge this part in their life where they're trying to get to a better opportunity, but you could lower the intensity, the number of hours, and not have folks compensated. And I think if the promise for learning is strong and the promise for economic growth is strong, I think that could be done as well. All right.
So, I mean, this was funded through Integrated English Literacy and Civics Education, IELCE funding. But initially, when we were talking about it, like I knew that there were other funds in case that wouldn't have worked out because those are competitive funds. I couldn't promise those for anything, right? So there were other optional state legislative funds that I had access to that if they wouldn't have qualified or gotten the grant, that we would have still funded that position just with other ways.
Can I let me do one? No, you're great. I appreciate the participation.
Thank you, and my apologies if you already said this, but where did you recruit from? Were the people going through UTA, or were they coming into adult ed first, or both?
And remind me to come back to you in just a moment, ma'am. So we had two sources. One was the Granite School District's adult education. We went to Angelica or I or both went once or twice to every class where students were eligible and talked to them specifically about it. From that, we developed leads, and then Angelica did a great job helping them prepare to interview for this opportunity. It was interesting. UTA had a number of applicants who had been flagged in the interviewing process, which is, hey, we'd love to hire this person if their English were a little stronger. And we got a few students that way. We also got just strange word of mouth things. So one student who'd gone to another city where we also have tried to get a job there, then came here. So lots of people who kept going. One of our people from our legal office, she had been driving in getting a lift from someone or an Uber, and talked to that person. And she said, hey, we're doing this program. You should come. You'd be really great. But I'd say 90% of people already in adult education. And we also, as we had more cohorts, we got friends and family. Yeah.
My question was just about approximately how much was it to run the program? And then also how many did you have in your first cohorts? How many students?
So if you're talking about from Title II funding, it was about $80,000 because we're just talking about basically a 29-hour teacher. Yeah, Alex did more than that, but for this particular project, it was about $80,000. And I think the important thing here is that UTA already hires people to train them to get their CDL before they fully hire them. So this model wasn't like completely out of the ordinary. The thing about this model was that they extended that training additional time. So these students had additional time to add on the English training component over a typical UTA trainee. And that was some of the details that we worked out in that almost year long of meetings before the program actually started.
Oh, so the recommendation was to do 4 or 5. We instead had 15, but I didn't because, yeah, because I thought it was a great opportunity, but in retrospect, not sure that was the best choice.
Can I ask if UTA or whoever, did you look at formalizing it into an apprenticeship?
I think apprenticeship would have a really specific meaning in the type of workplace we were in. So what Stephanie said at the outset was, I was super impressed with all of the career growth that you could have. So there are multiple level. The mechanics go through different levels of like journeyman, etc. Could you speak to that a little bit? So my short answer is we have some official sort of different levels of mechanics, and it's a union shop. And so I'm not sure what would have made it an apprenticeship. Oh, my
Yeah,
bad.
I don't think it could have been an apprenticeship. That requires a different skill set and a type of schooling that they have to take. This was just giving them the additional skill to perform the bus operator job. Usually training takes about 10 weeks to complete a bus training commercial driver's license. And with a apprenticeship, that could take 2 years up to 6 years, depending on the level that you're starting from and where you're trying to go. So I think it's just a completely different skill set and need for both for an apprenticeship and then a bus operator position. So bus operator position is usually an entry level position that most people can get into as long as they meet all of the legal requirements.
So just to understand it better, so you interviewed, they qualified for ESL, and then once they qualified for ESL, they also interviewed through UTA? And then what if UTA wanted them, but then the ESL wasn't there? I mean, does it have to both correspond and say, okay, check mark here and check mark there? Or do you guys?
Yeah, so the way it worked, and just as a follow-up, we're happy to add a slide to this and find a way to send it out, which tells you all the steps. It's a little bit complicated. Short version is the ESL providers, the instructors were never the deciders on who was employed, and at all stages it was a company decision, not our decision.
So I think what Alex is trying to say is that you have to interview to get into the ESL program. Once you interview and you get into the program, as long as you pass the ESL program, then as long as you complete it and you pass the final exam, then you get hired on as a full-time UTA employee, and then you start bus training. And then if you pass bus training, then you're officially an employee through UTA. And if you don't pass the ESL program, then you get 2 more chances to retake that final exam. If you don't pass that final exam, then unfortunately you don't get a job with UTA because the language is a big part of the job. In order to ensure safety, we need to make sure that everyone understands all of the safety rules and regulations and all of our procedures and policies. And so we want to make sure there's full and clear communication between the supervisors and the employees. And if they don't have that language, if there's a language barrier there, then unfortunately they wouldn't get hired. So we do try to equip them with all of the tools that they need and give them the skills and resources that they need to be successful in performing this job. And we do train them throughout a span of 3 months. And if they're not able to pass by the 3rd attempt, then unfortunately they wouldn't be able to work for Utah Transit Authority, but they do have the opportunity to come back within 6 months and then just go through the normal interview process and reapply again if they choose to.
So something else to just clarify your question there. In order to get into the adult education program, there's no interview process. You just have to be a resident in the state of Utah, come in, show us a deficiency in English language learning, and you're in our program. So pretty much what we would do is we'd go recruiting in our classrooms and say, hey, we have this great opportunity. You can come and interview if, and then we went over those qualifiers. Other than that, Granite Peaks was out. We provided the service, we provided the other resources, but we never, ever, ever guaranteed placement in this program. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. It was anyone who qualified, and we are the largest program in the state. We're about 3,000-ish strong right now. And we had quite a few applicants, to be honest, where the first time that we did the applications, they did the interviews in my office and my director's office, and we had over 40 interviews. And so that filtered down to the 15 because they kept telling me, are you sure ESL4 can learn all this? I went, oh yeah, absolutely. ESL4 is a great level. And they would consult with us, but at the end of the day, it was UTA's decision on who they hired and who they chose not to hire.
Yeah. And thanks for highlighting that. What makes this program one of the things that makes this one unique is that in order to be paid, people had to be hired as part-time employees. And those were the hardest conversations, frankly. Okay. And then we're going to take 2 more questions. Then I think we're going to zip through a few more slides to see if we answer any of them, and then give some more time for questions at the end. But I'm thrilled. I thought it was going to be crickets here, so I'm happy.
Thank you. If I heard you right, I think what you said is that they do the ESL part first. They have to pass the final exam, and then they get bus training. So did none of that bus training occur concurrently with the ESL training? Was it all after?
So officially, all of the bus training happened after. So what Kathleen was saying was that when it was easier for them to hire bus operators in Utah, you had to come with a CDL. The program we built onto was they started a program for 2-3 weeks for anyone who wanted to be a bus operator. They could work to pass their CDL. So our goal was to, and we'll show you this in a moment, give them the language skills to be successful as operators. We also prepared them to pass the CDL. They were also required to do that. The training program starts, it's over about 8 weeks. I think there are 6 days that are in a classroom. Most of it's on the road. So even though unofficially they didn't get any bus training until they joined, we were practicing everything we could about every component, and you'll see some photos of some scenario. They will do everything but drive the bus with us. So essentially they got it twice so that they'd be successful. Okay, last question for now.
Sorry, it's something that I was thinking about. So you said you got a lot of applicants, and some of them are not going through because of in English or whatever. What do you do with those who are rejected for this? Go for it.
Yeah, so the great thing with this partnership was that most people who didn't join, it was because of something. They don't have a driver's license long enough yet. They aren't at the level of English proficiency yet. And so Kathleen would always enroll them in adult education if they weren't already in it. Okay, so we saw Granite Peak's adult education as the feeder system for this. So one other thing I'd mention is for some people, bus operations jobs weren't the right fit for them. And so we had some people go into the maintenance side and also another person go into facility side. So we're also looking for opportunities if that wasn't the right one. Okay, I'll do the impacts really fast, then we'll talk about learning and teaching. Yeah, so let me just, Angelica, I'm going to whip through these and then we'll open it up to some more discussion at the end.
Okay.
Does that work for everyone here? Okay, one thing I want you to know is we are very serious about literacy. So being serious about, I assessed every student one-on-one in their phonemic awareness, in their reading abilities, in their spelling, because we wanted to see them, even though we were focusing on specific language that's practical, we also wanted to see them develop their language abilities to be successful in whatever they chose to do. And what was beautiful about this is as people were assessed every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks, and you shared their growth with them, it helped build that sense of efficacy. Of our bus operation performance tasks, we had a high passing rate. As Angelica said, people got, as we developed, we decided, hey, we needed multiple chances for each person because they're going to develop at different rates. The other thing is then bus training is welcoming fewer people at each moment, which they felt like required some extra capacity for them. And they were all able to pass the CDL exams, which are tough. Okay, we also made a commitment to each other. Angelica and I both speak Spanish, and majority of our students spoke Spanish, although we had a lot of other languages, but we made a commitment to each other that in a lot of our workplaces, folks weren't able to practice their English. And so they really wanted a chance to do this. So we committed to each other, not in a punitive way, but in a helpful, caring way that we're going to communicate with each other in English. We did that in breaks and lunch too. Okay, here's a quick video.
Hello there, my name is Haji and I was one of the ESL students. So this program have helped me a lot. I improve in the reading, writing, and speaking, and also for the result I get a better job. So I know that this many people come here, they have skills, but they don't speak English. So I think with that kind of program will help a lot of people here, and I really recommended it. And the teachers were very good. They were very engaging, making sure everyone get something out of it. And I have been in some ESL classes, but that class was very different. Angelica and Alex were very good, and they making sure everyone learn something. And I really recommend it, and I think it will help a lot of people. So thank you so much.
ESL program changed my life. So when I start there, I'm learning every day grammar, listening, and speaking. My teachers taught me many situations about my new job. This is helped me a lot because today I got new job, great job, and my English improved every day. So I'm grateful about this program. I recommend this program 100%.
It changed my life. Thanks to this program, I got opportunity to join UTA. Now, as a service employee, I'm proud to work in public service. As a new immigrant.
Hello there, my name is Haji, and I was one of the ES.
About my new job. This is helped me a lot because today I so when I start there, I'm learning every day grammar, listening, and speaking. My teachers taught me many situations about my new job. This is helped me a lot because today I got new job, great job, and my English improved every day. So I'm grateful about this program. I recommend this program 100%.
It changed my life. Thanks to this program, I got opportunity to join UTA. Now, as a service employee, I'm proud to work in public service. As a new immigrant, I still remember how hard it is to find a job when I first time came to America. I went to many interviews, but I failed. In that time, I felt lost and unsure about my future. But then, UTA gave me a chance. My teacher Angelica always encouraged us, with her positive and confidence, and especially before important tests. Also, teacher Alex taught English in such a patient and professional way. I never forget it. In that time was happiest time in my life. Not only did my English improve, but I also started to believe in my American dream. I really hope the ES program can restart so it can have more people like me.
I work with UTA, thanks for ESL program and our teacher Angelica and
I think you get the idea, and I think what comes through in some of those videos is that part of what was important was the learning, part of it was gaining confidence, and part of it was gaining a cohort of people who would be your friends and support you every moment along the way. What should we do? Angelica, do you want to zip through? Is this me? Me. Okay, good. So I'll keep doing the quick version. So some things that are important: clear expectations, focus on skills. We had milestones from growth, and we were constantly giving people feedback on those. And what I loved about the assessments that we used is they were fine-tuned enough that you could see growth. So what do you think we had to ask this question: what are the most important language skills for bus operators? Remember, for a student to gain general English proficiency and increase it in all domains takes a really long time. But we said, if we could get specific, they could get good at the certain conversations they need to have again and again, rather than at all the possible conversations in English. So this is what we came up with. Following instructions for the in-cabin controls. If an instructor is telling me to put it in neutral, I need to do that. Following instructions on the course. The training was all about being able to drive a course and then drive on the road with an instructor at your shoulder. So we would even pretend to have cars and set up obstacle courses and have someone telling them, turn left here, go 2 blocks here, stop at the corner, because there's lots of different ways that people say those phrases. Navigation on the map. Students working with maps, and the situation was they need to be able to call the transit control center, communication center, and tell them that they're lost, get instructions, repeat those instructions, then get back on the course. So we were trying to simulate as closely and as specifically as possible. Reporting an accident, customer service. The specific conversations they're going to have again and again are fares, routes, and lost items. So we practice those. So notice, if you're trying to get good in every area of English, it's going to take a lot longer. But if we're able to focus on some more specific areas, they can get stronger and confident in there, even though they might not be able to have a great conversation with you about the local sports team. This is what one of our rubrics looks like. So remember I said we moved from an interview to performance tasks. They had essentially 5 performance tasks that were rated this way, where we simulated what they were supposed to do, and this was the checklist. These are the behaviors, the language behaviors of a strong bus operator. And that's what we used to see, not are they good enough in English generally, we'll use a test of English proficiency for that, but are they strong at the English that's required for the job? And this made a big difference, because when supervisors and trainers signed off on this, and they were the adjudicator, then there was confidence that they were entering with the right skills, rather than some suspicion that can come from a different program. Right. We also trained the trainers. So they were going to be working, the workforce at UTA is historically white and male, and with not a lot of other language experience. Now the workforce is different, but the trainers are definitely in that category. So this was an activity we did, telling them about how they could make their language easier. So when it's concrete and simple, it's a lot easier to understand than when it's complex and abstract. So we did some things like that. Had them communicate lots of things to develop some empathy and some skills for, rather than if someone doesn't understand, don't get loud, angry, and repetitive, but instead try something different. Try to draw it, try to act it out, try to simplify your language, try to calm it down, any of those things. Go ahead, Angelica.
So reading about how to drive a bus is one thing, but doing it is another, and that's why we designed our training to be immersive and hands-on. Progressive learning approach, we started with discussions, moved to visual aids, and then we transitioned to real-world application on the bus. So I actually took real photos of parts of the bus that they'd be using every day so that they could get familiar with the actual bus, and then we would have those conversations and until we moved into the bus and started practicing. Seeing before doing, so trainees didn't just hear about the bus, they studied real photos, manuals, guides before stepping onto one, step-by-step learning. First, we introduced key concepts, and then we reinforced them with real examples. Finally, we put trainees in scenarios to practice problem solving and real bus practice. Like I said, once we had a solid foundation, they faced the real challenges, which was customer interactions, de-escalation, and handling passenger concerns in the bus. And by the time the official bus training started, they already had an idea of what it was going to be like, and they built confidence and experience. So this wasn't just training, it was preparation for real life success.
All right, we have 10 minutes left, so I'm going to try to finish the rest of what we have in 1 or 2, and then we'd love to hear questions and some discussion. Does that sound like a good way? Okay, I got at least 1 thumbs up on that. So these were some of the kinds of materials, lots of scaffolding for a lot of the language that folks needed. I also told you that we focused on structured literacy, and we also had lots and lots of people talking with each other. And remember, we had a commitment to work in English together, and so everyone contributed to that. There were 2 teachers, but there was always another student, so lots of work that way. Some things we learned. Is it okay if I zip through this, Angelica? This is not, the technical challenge is to provide the education for students to gain the specific English skills. The adaptive challenge or bigger challenge is for the entire organization to be more supportive at every step of the way. So we learned that that's key. Long-term mentorship and peer support at 3 months, at 6 months, at 9 months. It's scary to be in a new environment and you need a team to help you. We also did our best to make people feel valuable. Another thing, lots of screening and multiple chances because different people will progress at different rates. They have different needs. We want clear exit points. So if you're ready, you can exit at 8, you can exit at 10, you can exit at 12 weeks. And ongoing assessment so that we can adjust course. So looking forward, these are, I guess our questions are, what are you inspired to explore or pursue based on our discussion today? And are there any conversations that you're eager to have at this conference or when you return home? So I'd love to just open it up to questions. You have Stephanie, you have Kathleen, you have me, and Angelica.
I just want to actually say what a great job to have an organization like UTA actually spending the time to really support the growth of English language learners. And I think you did a brilliant job in the classroom as well to really support the learners. You kind of took education to a different level. And I think it should be really appreciated what you've actually done here. And again, having an organization like UTA actually supporting that and following it through, I think is actually major milestone in how we're educating people. So great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you might have said this at the beginning, but I was wondering how long have y'all done this program at your campus? And then also how many students have been successfully hired by UTA?
When did we start, Angelica?
Let me get that information right now.
So
we started June 12th, 2023, and we ended our last cohort September 1st, 2024. Just to give you a little bit more information, when we started, we were short-staffed and we needed bus operators. And by the time we got to cohort 3 and we finished that last cohort, we were fully staffed. So we reached our goal ahead of time. And so that's why well, I don't know if we mentioned this, but the program is currently discontinued because we are fully staffed and we were able to achieve that goal.
Sorry. So each cohort was about 15. I don't have the stats for you now. Seems like about 80 or 90% made it to training. At the end of training, I think we got to about 60 or 70% getting full-time roles as bus operators. What was interesting, though, was some of the people who didn't. So we didn't have anyone who they told us it was because their English skills. They told us it was about their driving skills. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to get more driving simulation stuff for our students. But one of our students who failed out of UTA's training went to a transport company and immediately got a job as a truck driver. We had 2 others who got bus driving jobs at other organizations as well. So we didn't bat 100%, but we had a pretty good rate.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, based on the success of this program, is UTA looking at alternative vocations, like in bus technician or any other areas like that? to fill the need?
So we've had a lot of people reach out from different departments, especially maintenance, tracks, front runner, about this program because we feel like it would be a great opportunity. Unfortunately, at this time, they put that on hold. So we're hopeful for the future, but not at this time. And just, I got some information. The total participants in the program were 38 people. And so we currently have 23 people working at UTA. People who completed the ESL Bilingual Bridges program was 95%. So 36 out of 38 completed the program.
My question is about curriculum. Was it developed by both of you, or we had input from somebody else?
So we got input from all kinds of people across the organization, but it was developed primarily by Angelica with a little help from me. No, that's true. She's
It was
really
both of us.
That was actually one of my questions, but the other one was I was wondering if you guys can speak a little bit more how you created a supportive community for the students enrolled in the program.
Angelica, would you take that one?
Yeah, I think, let's see, I'm trying to think, how was their support? I think just making sure that it was a safe space, that we really reinforce like why we were there. So the impact that this would make. When we first started the class, we would talk about, why are we here? Who is it going to help? How is this going to build a better future for us? And then just having an equal understanding that we were all here for the same purpose to build a better life. I think it really helped everyone realize that although we had different backgrounds, we were all here to learn and to grow. And so as they started realizing that, I feel like that really helped create a community where we also help them understand that it's not just about you, it's about all of us, and that we're not competing for a specific role, that there's enough space for everyone.
Yeah, Angelica understated a little bit everything that she did. It started with helping people prepare for an interview. Then current ways that you do onboarding for any job are really hard if you're from a different country and have limited and not full English proficiency. So all these things we do online. So she would typically have people come in, help them through the onboarding processes. We had a day at the lake where I brought some canoes we had. We didn't have a motorboat or anything. Angelica's done one of those Tough Mudder races with some of our students. We'd eat together. We'd have potlucks. So I think they and Angelica, it's a male-dominated workforce, so it's really nice to have Angelica there as a great role model. So I think that also made it welcoming. And I think the last thing was by making this shared commitment to English, we did level the playing field for some of our learners who are from Afghanistan or who don't speak Spanish, so that they could all participate. And we did tons of pairs work and group work, and we got lots of comments. It was great to have a student from Afghanistan. I got to learn another culture. It was great to work with someone from Sudan. I got to learn. So I think, but I think it was just doing things together, trying to make it safe, trying to set some shared goals and have everyone work together.
Oh, I think also understanding that everyone had a fear of speaking English. So everyone was there to learn English. Everyone felt ashamed or scared to speak up, to practice their English because they didn't feel like it was good enough yet. And so just after every class that we taught, we would have them get up, shake it off, and tell themselves like, hey, like I'm smart. I can speak English. You can speak English. We can do this together. And so I would make them do that after every class. And towards, the end of the program, they really enjoyed it. And they really talked about the power of words and how that really gave them the confidence to succeed in the class.
Yep, Angelica would always say, hey, repeat after me. I'm smart. I can speak English. I can do this. And I heard a lot of our students repeat that afterwards. Final question, and then we'll thank you for having come.
My question is regarding the pay. What are the pay growth like from a trainee to full-time staff? And what are the retention like, right? So I'm coming from economic mobility and self-sufficiency angle, right? So I want to understand how.
Yeah, so it was 16 bucks an hour, part-time, 29 hours. Then when you entered bus training, it was 20 bucks an hour, 40 hours a week. Some of your benefits start. After bus training is complete, you go to $24 an hour. And then because it's a union, you go up each year. And there's a lot of vertical mobility within the company. I don't know all the details, but most of our students who are in our program were doing DoorDash, Uber, Amazon Flex, Walmart. So we thought that many were working on like $10 to $12 an hour without any benefits. And so we thought it was a strong move into more stability. Is that okay? Okay.
And with retention, we did keep 61% of our ESL trainees.
Say that again. Say that again.
With retention, we kept 61% of our ESL trainees.
That's like a year and a half later.
Mhm.
And many of the others improved their economic mobility through other jobs. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful day.